Avatar: Aang, The Last Airbender was released on July 24th, 2026 to Paramount Plus with a very limited theatrical release in New York and California. The movie is a continuation of the journey of Team Avatar from the original animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, including Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph, Zuko, and Momo, and Appa. The film was slated for an October release, but was moved up after the film was leaked in its entirety in April of 2026. I'm the real-life Fake Wizard, and this is a Fake Wizard's review of Avatar: Aang, The Last Airbender. If this review provides you any value at all, please hit the subscribe button, as we're making new reviews nearly every day. Avatar: Aang takes place several years after the events of The Last Airbender show, with Team Avatar now being in their mid-20s. The team has been putting their efforts into building Republic City, a city where all of the elements can live in harmony. However, Aang has been spending a large amount of his time going to different air temples, recovering artifacts lost from the eradication of his people at the hands of the Fire Nation over 100 years ago. After returning to the air temple, he recovers a relic from an ancient airbender named Sonam. A group of non-benders called the Denied are after the same relic and attack the Avatar in order to try and get it. The gang and Taga head off to find the staff to ensure that the Denied don't get it, but also the conflict still lingers. Will Aang be able to restore the Air Nation? And from there, the conflict ensues and the story continues. This movie is a pretty movie. The animation is extremely fine-tuned, the choreography and bending of the elements is captivating to watch. Several sequences give the feeling of being three-dimensional with its movement and fluidity, but from what I can tell, it was still a 2D animation. Sometimes it leans into what can feel like being a bit over-animated, but that's more in the terms of it being hard to track what's going on. From a visual perspective, it's what I would refer to as eye candy. However, I think it deviates a little too far from the art style of the original series and The Legend of Korra. A lot of people refer to Avatar as American anime, and there's definitely homages and nods to the Japanese style of animation in the show, but I always felt like it had enough Western identity that set itself apart. This movie really leans into the anime style of animation. Aang has big ol' anime eyes, and it looks a little off from what it should look like with Aang. They take advantage of it being animated to do the more comical and cartoon faces and reactions, which was reminiscent to the original run. It just feels different. It's not necessarily a complaint, as the movie is still visually captivating, to the point where I kinda wish this got a theatrical release, like worldwide, as I'd love to have watched these sequences on the big silver screen, but it's something that should be addressed. The story, on the other hand, is very weak. This movie is the Avatar equivalent of an anime movie, similar to like Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, or Pokemon. These are stories using the characters you know and love, where they'll bend the rules a bit to do specific sequences, but the stories still work in the original narrative. Most of the time, they're forgettable, with them not having the strongest stories or characters, so they end up working better in their own contained space, adjacent to the original. You may still have a strong connection to the film because of your connection to the property or franchise, but as a movie itself, it doesn't hold up well. For example, and people are not going to be happy with this, Pokemon 2000. The story follows Ash, Pikachu, and their companions as if it was a normal journey, but their encounter with the legendary birds, Lugia, and the other characters in the movie lies almost entirely in its own separate continuity that is exclusive to the movie. It's still an adventure with the characters you know and love, but doesn't really tie back into the main story. It's more so supplemental. It's not a great movie, but it holds a very special place in my heart from when I was a kid. It hurts to even talk about Pokemon 2000 like this, but it's not the best Pokemon movie. The first one is iconic. Holding that special place in your heart from when you were a kid. That is what this movie, this Avatar movie, is trying to piggyback off of. In this film, the story with Taga, Avatar Sonam, and the Denied feel awkward to the timeline in between The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. The fact that Aang had an encounter with another airbender and saved Republic City from being destroyed, yet was never referred to or mentioned in The Legend of Korra, is a little bit weird, seeing as how a large piece of Aang's legacy in Korra is dedicated to him trying to bring airbenders back into the world, and his achievements in protecting Republic City. Also, the Denied, a non-Bender martial arts group, being active this early on makes the conflict between Bender and non-Benders in Season 1 of Korra feel much more like a failure on the leadership roles of Team Avatar during the foundation of Republic City. Especially with this ending, with the gang recruiting one of their members, you'd think they'd take the time to listen to her plight of being a non-Bender. But these issues are more digestible when you look at them through the terms of it being a special anime one-off adventure movie. Like, the Denied being able to competently use airbending, despite it being shown that airbending is one of the harder bending techniques to learn, still works because they're just fodder enemies for the rest of Team Avatar to fight. It very much is a don't think about it story. And if you're okay with that, then you'll probably enjoy this. I am not okay with it for several reasons. Firstly, this style of movie works best when it's accompanied by an active series inside a living franchise. The mediocrity of some of these movies is able to be waved off because the main story is still going on beside it, and the people who'd be watching it are likely big fans anyway. The movie adventures are supposed to feel like an extra bonus journey to spend more time with the characters you love, telling a story they wouldn't be able to tell with where the story is currently going. Avatar does not have that backup of a current series or a show to lean up against and help carry it. Instead, this movie was supposed to reignite the fire of a dormant franchise. It's not an impossible task, but this movie is not good enough to do that. For one, it took too long to come out. This movie was announced back in February of 2021 with the creation of Avatar Studios. It took more than 5 years for this thing to come out, years after Avatar had moved out of the zeitgeist from 2020. Also, take into account that the only other thing to come out for Avatar on TV within those 6 years has been the first and second seasons of the live-action Netflix adaptation, and the new trailer for the new Avatar series has been met with a fair amount of hesitancy. This is not what you should have been aiming for with your return for these characters or this franchise. The original series ended in 2008. It's been almost 20 years since we last saw Aang, Zuko, Katara, and Sokka from the original series together. And I'm not counting Korra, because that was no longer Team Avatar's story, and they made sure you knew that. People have been asking to reunite with these characters in animated form, and it did not feel like a reunion at all. There's a quick montage of where each of the different characters are before they receive the letter from Aang. That's really all you see about what they've been up to and what they've been doing since defeating the Fire Lord. This was the time to show off how these characters have rounded into being adults, taking on new responsibilities, or maybe, giving a better frame of reference on why things are the way they are when it comes time for the Korra show. Like why Toph became a cop, how the Fire Nation is under Zuko's leadership, what happened to Sokka, what happened to Suki. We don't see any of that. They don't spend any time giving the people what they actually want to watch. Aang barely interacts with the other members of Team Avatar. Sokka feels like he's regressed in this, being an extremely flanderized and cartoonish version of the goofier aspects of his character. Like, Sokka was goofy in the original, yes, but literally in the intro to this movie, Aang talks about how he learned the virtues of bravery in leadership from Sokka. But then the writers don't give him that respect or reverence that he should get. And Suki only gets a cameo in the end, as if they completely forgot about her. They forgot about Suki again. Then there's the vocal performances. I don't like the recasting of the actors from the original. I would have preferred them reprise their roles. I know many of you would have too. In fact, I think if it was the original cast, it would have helped with the reunion factor I had mentioned. The choice to replace these actors was and is dumb. If the performances were on par with the original, it would have been okay, but some of these performances feel, well, they are amateur. These are amateur performances. It's not bad, but that's just being nice. There are lines that feel so off that it is as if the director directing the voiceover got a single take from these actors and then said, yeah, I guess that's fine. characters will have conversations with each other, but they don't feel like they're actually talking to each other. I don't even know why this is, but there is constantly feeling like a lack of direction in vocal performances now. Just in general, not even just this Avatar movie. But this Avatar movie does suffer from that problem. There are moments where you do get the sensation of the characters coming across as the ones you know and love, so you know that it was possible. It just wasn't properly utilized. This movie is worth coming down hard upon and being critical about because Avatar is a series that many people love, myself included, and I wanted to see more of a window of what their adventures looked like as adults, as many of you did too. I really can't give it any grace and say things like, oh, well, because it got leaked early, that ruined the film's chances. Because this movie needed to be a slam dunk of a story. This needed to knock it out of the park, and it did not. This movie needed to leave you fired up about wanting to see more from the world of Avatar, and it just didn't. This film wasn't put in theaters, and I don't blame Paramount for that decision, because if it was put in theaters, it wouldn't have made the money they would have wanted it to. It's not going to make any money now, because it's on Paramount Plus. I mean, think about it this way. When the leaks happened, the conversation surrounding it was, I can't believe they leaked the whole thing. I don't remember there being a point where people were saying at all, dude, it's so good, I can't wait for them to release it. And that is extremely telling. Avatar: Aang, The Last Airbender is not terrible as some other things are, like the Netflix live-action adaptation. That is terrible. But this movie should have been great. Where the movie is visually captivating, the story is weak, as many stories today are, leaving it to be a rather hollow experience overall. Watching this movie makes me miss the original series, and not because I miss the Avatar world, but because I miss when things had competent and compelling writing. Avatar: Aang gets a 5 out of 10. If this review provides you any value at all, please like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and cancel Disney+.